This lesson is on freshwater pollution, and in this picture this gentleman is actually in a river. The population around this river has polluted it to this point, and this river is also used for bathing and for drinking water. This is another occurrence of freshwater pollution. And pollution is any substance that causes harm to the water and anything in it. So, for any reason, if it is causing harm to anything living in the water, we can consider it pollution. So there's three types of water that can be polluted. There's rainwater, there's surface water, and there's groundwater. Surface water can get polluted by just pouring contaminants in the water. Groundwater is where the aquifer gets polluted, and rainwater can be contaminated through smoke and pollutant particles in the air. So how do we get harmed by it? We could eat infected animals, we could drink contaminated water, and we could swim or bathe in polluted water. So humans can be affected by water pollution by eating infected animals, drinking impure water, and bathing or swimming in it. There are four main types of water pollution, four main sources. They're human waste, such as in this picture. There's agricultural waste. This does not only just mean farmers, this could also mean residential areas or subdivisions that will put fertilizers and pesticides on their lawns. There's industrial waste, and then there's road runoff. So the major sources of water pollution are human waste, industrial waste, agricultural chemicals, and runoff. There are two sources of pollution. There's point source and there's non-point source. Point source means that we can identify where the pollution comes from. So we can track this pipe all the way back up to its source, and we can identify what the cause of the pollution is. So point source pollution is a specific source that can be identified. Non-point source is where we don't know who is the cause of this pollution. It would be hard to track each little particle back or object back to where it originated. And so we call this non-point source pollution. It's a widely spread source that can't be tied to a specific point or specific origin. So in some cases, when we have contaminated water due to flooding or broken pipes, people are asked to boil their water. It doesn't clean the water, but it does kill the germs that can cause harm. So people in cities are told to boil water after floods because sometimes the sanitary sewers overflow into storm sewers, and then it gets into the surface water. We also need to make sure in rural areas that we're very cautious about our water. We want to make sure not to put feed lots or leach fields from septic systems above our well water. So rural areas need to be alert to sewage by making sure they're aware of the location of their septic tanks, and feed lots need to be far from water sources. Industry can cause water pollution through several ways. We could have water pollution directly dumped into the water. We could have hot water actually that's cleaned but being returned back to the river system. Hot water is harmful because it kills animals due to the temperature change. And then we have acid rain formed from smoke or carbon dioxide gas released into the atmosphere. So the three types of industrial pollutions are chemicals, smoke, and heated water. We also have problems with burying barrels with pollution in them. A lot of times the barrels will rust and the contaminants will ooze out. This will cause problems with runoff. If it's underground, it could directly interfere with the aquifer. So chemicals are a problem because industry dumps chemicals directly into water sources. Buried barrels that aren't monitored leak into groundwaters and directly into our aquifers. Acid rain is a problem because it kills living organisms, as you can see in this picture. Smoke contributes to acid rain, whether it be from carbon dioxide gases or through other toxic chemicals that are released into the atmosphere that combine to form rain and make it more acidic than usual. And hot water can be a problem because fish can only live in a small range of temperatures, and so if the temperature gets out of the range, the fish will die. So even if the water is clean, if the temperature is too high when it's being released back into the river, it can harm living things. Farming in residential areas can be a problem because they put fertilizers and pesticides on the field that can dump into a nearby water system, including surface water. This can cause an algae bloom due to the fact that the algae also appreciates the fertilizer that's dumped into the river and can choke out the oxygen and the sunlight that needs to go into the river to provide oxygen for the animals. So fertilizers can be harmful because runoff can cause rapid growth of algae in plants, increasing the rate of eutrophication. Pesticides are often used also on agricultural and residential areas. A pesticide is a chemical that kills insects on crops or grasses, also known as insecticides. And runoff can be a problem where people accidentally spill gas on the ground or oil leaks from a car, or we add brine or salt to the roads to prevent ice formation. And all these things, when the water, when it rains, this will flow into our water systems, into our rivers, and cause contamination. So the types of road runoff are going to be gas that are harmful, can be gasoline, oil, and salt. So how do we treat our water systems? How do we treat our fresh water and get the pollution out of our fresh water? We can add bacteria and we can use wastewater treatment facilities. So water can be cleaned up. Living things like plants, bacteria can be added to the polluted water that breaks down and filters out waste. Gravel can be added to aquifers. Gravel is an initial treatment for filtration. And then we have water treatment facilities that we've created to clean up water to be returned back to our river systems. Ways to prevent pollution. We have laws in place that control the pollution. We have water quality standards and air quality standards that must be met through guidelines. We create laws for cleanup, and we establish, as I said, water quality standards and laws. And that's all for those notes.